Good evening, all, and welcome to Lullaby Legends with Lack. I'm your host, Caleb Lack, and in each episode I tell one or two short stories for you to relax by, spanning the range from the dawn of civilization to the age of information. Tonight, I thought we would do something from Greek mythology. And so a popular story that a lot of folks know in one degree or another is the story of Hercules, or Herakles. And so I thought tonight we might talk a little bit about Hercules and talk about especially the 12 labors that he had to go through. So here we go. Story of Hercules and the 12 labors. Feel free to relax, enjoy yourself, and enjoy the show. Never was there a boy like Hercules, twice as large and 10 times as strong as any other boy. When he swung his arms, everyone took a few steps back. When he stomped, all the land shook. That boy was so strong, he was always breaking furniture or smashing things by mistake. At last, his mother had to send him out to tend the goats and the sheep to keep him out of trouble. What the young Hercules did not know was that his father was Zeus, the god of thunder, and the most powerful of all gods. Since he had one parent who was a god, and his mother who was a mortal, Hercules was a demigod. Yet, being a demigod did not protect Hercules from one very powerful danger, the goddess Hera. Hera was the wife of Zeus. And as the wife of Zeus, you can be certain that she was not happy when her husband was out roaming around the world, fathering children by other women. Whatever Hera thought about it, it made her furious, and she thought about it a lot. When Hercules was only a baby, she sent 2 snakes into his crib, but the super strong baby crushed the snakes with his bare hands. When Hercules grew up and became a young man, he drove away the enemy invaders who had taken over a city-state next to his own, a kingdom called Thebes. Hercules chased the very last invader away, so that the king of Thebes was able to rule again. The grateful king heaped many honors on the young hero. Soon, Hercules won the heart of the king's daughter. They married and had 3 sons. But Hera, set on crushing the happiness of Hercules, cast a spell over the young man. Under her spell, Hercules went mad, killing his wife and sons. When the spell wore off, and Hercules saw what he had done, he was stunned. He sunk into a grief so deep that he felt he could not go on. His friend Theseus, another hero, pleaded with Hercules to visit the oracle at Delphi. She was the most famous prophetess in the land. Only the oracle could give an answer of what Hercules could do to make up for what he had done. When the oracle was asked a question, she often spoke in riddles, and it was hard to know what she was saying. This time, though, the oracle was very clear. To pay for his sins, Hercules must, for 10 years, serve his cousin Eurytheus, we'll call him Eury, king of a nearby land. During this time, said the oracle, King Eury would give him impossible tasks to do. For you see, the oracle at Delphi could see into the hearts of men. She knew that King Eury wanted nothing more than to be rid of his stronger, more popular cousin. She knew that he would come up with very difficult, even impossible tasks. When Hercules heard this answer, he knew it was not his choice to do what the oracle said. He knew that he had to do it. After all, was he not the strongest man on earth and the son of a god? Yet Hercules needed to pay somehow for his sins. If serving his cousin, the King Eury, for 10 years was a path to that end, then that is what he must do. Hercules arrived at the palace of King Eury and gave him a message from the oracle. His older cousin smiled. What a lucky break. Surely he could come up with impossible tasks. It would keep his popular cousin far away from him and his land for a very long time. And if Hercules happened to perform these tasks, then he, King Eury, would take the credit. And if his younger cousin happened to die while trying, well, so be it. The first task that King Eury set him to was to kill the Nemean lion, a beast that had been striking terror into the countryside nearby. The lion could not be harmed by any weapon, so there was nothing anyone could do to stop it. Hercules chased the Nemean lion and trapped it in a cave. He strangled the beast with his bare hands, because no weapon could kill it, and then skinned it. The hero hung the skin of the Nemean lion around his head, with the open head of the lion over his own face. And that is how Hercules returned to the palace of King Eury. The king was indeed surprised, but he was ready with the second task. Hercules was to slay the giant Hydra dragon snake. The Hydra had many hungry heads, each one blowing hot steam from its fangs. Even worse, when one snake head was cut off, 2 more would grow back in its place. But Hercules had a plan. As he cut off each snake head, his nephew quickly seared the cut with fire so the head could not grow back. But because Hercules had help with this task, King Eury did not count it. Instead, he gave Hercules an extra task. Next, Hercules had to bring back to the king a huge deer that was the pet of Athena, the goddess of the hunt, who took care of all animals. Athena's deer had golden hooves and golden horns and hooves of bronze, and was faster than any other creature alive. Hercules chased her pet deer for many months. Finally, he shot an arrow that wounded the deer. Carrying the animal on his shoulders, he came upon none other than the goddess Athena herself. She was shocked to see her pet hurt like that. Hercules explained why he was forced to capture the animal and said he was sorry. Athena understood. She forgave him as long as he agreed to set the animal free. Hercules agreed. Athena healed the deer's wound and let Hercules carry her pet back to King Eury. King Eury was stunned to see Hercules walk into his throne room carrying Athena's deer. But he had another task ready, just in case. Hercules would have to capture a fearsome boar, a wild pig with a bad temper and long pointed tusks. Every day, the boar would come crashing down the mountainside, attacking and killing everything in its path. Hercules chased the boar into a deep pile of snow. He trapped it into a net and carried the net with the beast in it back to King Eury. Now King Eury did not know what to do. Could nothing or no one beat Hercules? King Eury knew the next labor had to be truly impossible. One king in Greece was particularly famous for his large herds of fine cattle. Every night his more than 3,000 cattle stayed at his royal stables. Yet the stables had never once been cleaned. You can imagine the mess. King Eury knew it would be impossible to clean out the king's stables, even if you had a lifetime. Yet how much more impossible it would be to have to clean it out in one day. That was the next task. Hercules went to the king who owned the fine cattle. He said he would clean out the royal stables in one day, but on one condition. The condition was, if he did it, the king would give him 10% of these fine cattle. The king could not believe that anyone could clean out the stables, period. But if this stranger could do such a thing in one day, it was worth the price. The next morning, after the cattle went out to graze, Hercules tore a large hole at one end of the stable wall and another large hole at the other end. Then he dug 2 wide trenches next to 2 rivers that flowed nearby. He turned the course of both rivers into one stream and directed the flow of the stream into the hole in the stable wall. The 2 rivers rushed through, and everything flowed out the other side. By the end of the day, the stables were as clean as could be. The king gave Hercules the cattle, as promised. But King Eurytheus said the task didn't count because Hercules had been paid, and so he would have to do yet another task. There were many other labors. Hercules had to drive away a flock of man-eating birds. He had to wrestle a minotaur to the ground. He had to ride a chariot of wild horses and tame them. He went to the faraway land of the Amazon women and brought back the queen's belt. He even traveled to the very end of the world. The next labor was the hardest of all. Hercules had to get the golden apples that had belonged to Zeus, the king of the gods, and his own father. What made this task truly impossible is that the golden apples were a wedding present from Hera, the wife of Zeus, and the very goddess who hated Hercules. Yet, Hercules also accomplished this task. He tricked Atlas, the god who held up the world, into doing it for him. At last, the final labor of Hercules was the most impossible one of all. He had to go deep under the earth into the underworld, the land of the dead. No one had ever gone to the underworld and come back alive. To make it even more impossible, the task was to kidnap the 3-headed dog Cerberus that guarded the gate to the underworld and bring the beast back alive. What more, Cerberus was the pet of Hades, god of the underworld. King Eurytheus knew that Hades would not let anyone harm his pet, but he had no problem letting harm come to Hercules. Now, when Hercules got to the underworld, he went to see Hades. He asked Hades if he might borrow his pet dog for a while and take him to the land of the living. Hercules promised not to harm him. Hades was impressed that Hercules had asked permission first instead of fighting his pet, and so he agreed. When Hercules came to King Eury's palace with the 3-headed dog, the king froze in fear, then rushed behind his throne. Calling out from behind his hiding place, King Eurytheus told Hercules that he had credit for the final task and in all tasks, and he should go right away and take the beast with him. And so the labors of Hercules ended. Hercules had finished his labors, 12 in all. Hercules now felt that he could go on with his life. He married again and won many victories, but he also faced many hard times too, because the goddess Hera remained as jealous as ever. She tried to ruin him time after time for the rest of his days. When Hercules died, he won a final prize. He became the only demigod ever allowed to rise up to Mount Olympus, the place in the clouds where the gods lived. For all his good deeds he had done in his life, and for all the hardships he had faced, Hercules would live forever at Mount Olympus as an immortal god. Well, I hope you enjoyed a kind of abridged version of Hercules and the 12 labors. Each of the 12 labors is quite the story in and of itself, but that gives you a little taste of kind of what they're all like. That's all for tonight. I hope you enjoyed this story and that you will come back for more. If you have feedback, a suggestion, or a request, feel free to reach out and let me know. Good night, sleep tight, and don't let the Knocknitsa bite.